Big story on the stimulus front this morning, and that is that 50,000 of you will be receiving stimulus checks in September. Now, don't get your hopes up. These aren't stimulus checks, new stimulus checks. No, these were backlog weighted checks that hadn't gotten to you yet because the IRS screwed up. That's right. According to reports this morning, 50,000 IRS checks will go out. The question is, who will receive them? And we have some details about that. And this whole issue involves a hiccup around child support. Many of you had written to me saying, look, I don't owe child support, and yet I'm being told that I'm not getting a stimulus check, but I don't pay child support. What's going on here? Well, the IRS admits that it made a mistake. So basically, people who had their stimulus checks wrongly withheld because of erroneous child support payments will in fact be getting a check now. The wrinkle is due to a loophole in the stimulus payments part, which allowed the IRS to garnish checks if recipients were behind in their child support payments. Earlier this year, the IRS, though, said that the checks would be reduced by the amount that the person owed in child support payments. But that decision affected thousands of taxpayers whose spouses owed child support. The spouses found that their payments were also garnished. So it was someone who might not have had to owe child support. They also got hit with this. And then their payments were held back. So the IRS says, yeah, we screwed up. 50,000 screw-ups? That's a lot. So the good news is that those people that were waiting on that check, you're going to get a check in the mail or that direct deposit. Again, they've said they've spent about 160 million checks, sent 160 million checks out to people, to those people in need right now. So those 50,000 will go out on top of that, which is great. Good. They found their mistake, and they're going to send it out to you. I just want to pause for a second and think about that number. 160 million checks. Just think about that. Now, these checks were going out to people that qualified for a stimulus, right? Making that $75,000 a year and struggling big time. Think about the income disparity in this country when nearly half of our country is living with that type of a paycheck and is in need of a stimulus check. You don't think some things are out of whack? You know, when Mike Pence gets up there and says that President Trump has done more to lift up the lowest among us, do you feel lifted up? When we have still this massive income inequality in this country. We had it under Obama too. It's even greater now, where the billionaires made more money this time than we've ever seen. $374 billion made by billionaires in the last 3 months during this pandemic. Pretty remarkable. Really remarkable. All right, here's another part of the stimulus that I want to talk about today, and that is that September is probably not going to see a stimulus check. According to Mark Meadows, the White House chief of staff, telling Politico, that's right, that the White House says they're not optimistic about reaching a new coronavirus relief deal before the end of September. Predicting that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is going to use the government shutdown or the funding for the government, that cliff that we always hit, we always run up against it with a few days left. Are we going to pass a bill? Or all these non-essential workers going to be furloughed at the government level again? National parks will be shut down. Government offices will be shut down. We do this now every year. It's crazy. But Mark Meadows is saying that Democrats may use this as leverage now in order to get a stimulus plan through. Now, what is he thinking here? Now, he might have a good point. Maybe. And maybe this could be the playing card that Nancy Pelosi is waiting for, right? She's going to make sure that she gets what she wants in a stimulus plan shoved inside of a spending bill to keep the government running. I mean, is President Trump going to want to shut down the government right before the election? This could be the leverage that Democrats need. We'll see. I'm not moralizing here one way or the other, but every member of Congress in these spending bills comes forward. They come out of the woodwork like termites with all of their little pet projects. Like, yeah, I'll vote for this spending bill, but I got to, back home in Alaska, I need a bridge built. You know, or what's his name? I forget the Pennsylvania Democratic congressman, famous guy who even built like an airstrip in his name in Western Pennsylvania. If anybody's from Western Pennsylvania, let me know in the chat. But But he was always, swampy swamp Democrat. I think he used to file all kinds of stuff inside of these spending bills so that the only person that would land at that airport was him. Like, he built it near Pittsburgh, like out in the hills outside of Pittsburgh, just so he could land there when he wanted to come home to his district. I forget his name off the top of my head. But anyway, all of these members of Congress come out of the woodwork at the end, and they all want to get these spending projects pushed through with their little pet projects. So it is possible that they could be holding this up in order to get the stimulus package pushed through in some sort of large spending bill, unless they're going to come to the table. Now, Mark Meadows also admitted that he has heard from lawmakers from both parties. He admitted this in an interview. They've come to him privately, expressing him to make progress on a coronavirus relief bill. This holdup, Meadows says, though, is the reason we're not seeing movement is because he thinks that Pelosi is holding back members of her party right now to secure more Democratic priorities in any legislation that comes forward. So it's more likely that looking to a fiscal year ending stopgap funding bill as a vehicle, Pelosi is looking for leverage to force any kind of stimulus deal, he said. And in so doing, she probably realizes that avoiding a government shutdown may give Senate Republican fiscal hawks just enough incentive to vote yes on a stimulus. Again, Republicans are up for re-election. If they're seen holding up a stimulus bill and allowing a government shutdown on their watches, and people get furloughed, and President Trump is sitting on a government shutdown right before election, not good. Not good. It's not going to go well for them. So this could be the leverage that Nancy Pelosi needs to get this thing through. I don't know. We'll see. But why? Let me ask you this question. Why is a government shutdown on the table at all right now? Why? Didn't we solve this? And wasn't this supposed to not happen again? You think so, but here's why it's happening again. Because you may recall that about this time last year, President Trump signed a 2-year budget deal. It was a 2-year budget deal that allegedly punted funding fights until after the 2020 election, so we wouldn't have to deal with this, remember? We won't have to talk about government shutdowns until after the 2020 elections. Aha! Not so. Not so fast. What it actually did was it extended the public debt limit. That's it. Just the public debt limit. But it's until after November. But what happened is that appropriations bills still have to be voted upon and enacted and signed before the end of the fiscal year. So all of the money outlays for the government has to be signed for and agreed upon before the end of the year on September 30th. It has to be done by September 30th. And at this point, the Senate has not passed a single one of the Appropriations Committee bills. They have to pass them. And then the Democrats have to agree on them. Then the president has to sign it. They haven't done it. And so we are heading for another precipice, folks, as if we needed more examples of this, the Senate's incompetence. Here again, they haven't even passed any of these. So they had all summer, while they were sitting on their hands doing nothing, Mitch McConnell and his Senate Republicans, they could have passed some of these appropriations bills. And now they've almost screwed themselves. Because by waiting now until we're up against a government shutdown and no stimulus package, they've now showed their cards. They don't have any more cards to show. Their cards are all out on the table. So go fish. Go fish, Democrats. It's interesting. And who gets hurt in all of this? Again, who gets hurt? You guessed it. Renters facing evictions, unemployed people whose benefits ran out at the end of July, on July 31st, small businesses with no more loans to access because they thought they would get another PPP loan to keep themselves afloat. Now they're going to have to lay off more workers. Look at American Airlines threatening that by October 1st, they're going to have to furlough 19,000 employees. United saying 36,000 employees. So there's something very interesting, right? United, American, say they're going to have to furlough workers by October 1st. This government shutdown is scheduled for September 30th, 2 days earlier. Or 1 day earlier. How many days are in September? I think there are 31 days, right? No, that's it, right? There's only 30 days in September. So all of this comes together. We're heading for a disaster unless they get something passed. It's like a speeding train going off a cliff. You know, it's like in Back to the Future 3 when the train's gone at the end of the movie. Oh, into, what's the name of the ravine, by the way? Clayton Ravine. That's right. So schools are struggling as they get back open again. And really struggling are those election officials that are going to have to wait another month or so for even a good chance of relief. These election officials right now. State and local governments also. All of them get piled into this. So that's what Mark Meadows is saying about a possible stimulus, not until September at the very earliest. And probably not even looking unless they tie this into a stimulus package for the government shutdown. That's what it's mounting up to be right now. Also this week, we're going to see the skinny stimulus back again. That's right, it's skinny stimulus time. So skinny stimulus is alive and well, and Republicans this week are set to roll out the skinny stimulus. It's lost some weight again. Republicans are going on this package. It's going to probably come out by tomorrow. Now remember that these talks ended back in August. We thought, okay, the skinny stimulus talk is done. It's going to be $500 billion. Well, this thing's not going to go anywhere. Well, guess what? It's back. So instead of the $2 trillion that Democrats are hoping for and the $1 trillion that had already been floated by Republicans, they want to go even smaller at $500 billion. The Republican proposal would include more money for schools, treatment for coronavirus, and vaccines, more Paycheck Protection Program money for small businesses, great, and more unemployment benefits, $300. That's where it was. We heard $300 instead of the $600, but not in the way that direct payments to Americans. So no direct stimulus payments to the American people. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, though, is like sitting there rolling her eyes on this whole thing. She said she will not restart negotiations until the GOP comes to a compromise between their previous $1 and $3 trillion discussions. So this skinny bill, I don't even know why they're bothering with it. And it almost, I mean, it's the fact that we're even calling it that is just an affront. I mean, we can just call it what it is, right? It's a skinny bill. It's as Nancy Pelosi called it, basically it's anorexic for what we need. I just don't know how. I don't know how, if you're a Republican right now, especially if you're a Republican running for re-election, you can even want to float a bill like that right now with so many people facing eviction and need rental assistance, and they're going to be thrown out. Upwards of 30 million Americans thrown out of their homes. And I guess you don't care about them because those aren't the wealthy base of the party that you're hoping to attract. That's not Wall Street that you're hoping to attract, the business owners that you're hoping to attract. That's just a little person that's probably going to vote Democrat anyway, so you don't want to help them, right? But that's the very latest skinny stimulus. Could be coming today or tomorrow, and we'll bring you the details on the skinny stimulus and if it goes anywhere at all, or if it's just dead on arrival. And we'll bring you the latest on whether or not Nancy Pelosi wants to come back to the table and discuss a broader spending package, a stimulus package with Republicans if they can get closer to a $2 trillion number. So that's the very latest on the stimulus today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I should mention our newsletter. How many of you are subscribers? If you're not, please check it out. It's totally free. Grab it first thing in the morning at morninginvest.com. It's totally free. You get the very latest news delivered right to your inbox every day at morninginvest.com. You can sign up for free. Grover loves it. Grover would thank you so much if you signed up, although he's sleeping right now. He's zonked out. But he would thank you. Say, please. Please sign up for my newsletter. All right, everyone. I'm going to run. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early.